All right, picture this. You're lying in a hospital bed, barely able to move. Your vision's fading, your heart's pounding in your chest like it's trying to escape. And right there, standing over you, is your nurse. She's smiling. Why is she smiling? You try to speak, to ask what's happening, but your lips won't move. Your whole body feels heavy, like you're sinking into the mattress. You feel a hand brush through your hair, soft, almost affectionate. And then, in the faintest whisper, she leans in and says, "It's okay, I just want to see you go." And then, nothing. Sounds like something straight out of a horror movie, right? Yeah, no. This actually happened. And the woman behind it? Jane Toppan. A nurse so twisted, she didn't just take lives. She played with them. She brought people to the edge of death, watched them suffer, and sometimes, just for fun, she'd bring them back, only to do it all over again. And the worst part? For years, no one suspected a thing. So how does someone go from a cheerful, well-liked nurse to one of the most disturbing serial killers in history? Buckle up, because this one gets real dark, real fast. Jane Toppan wasn't always Jane Toppan. She was born Honora Kelly in 1854, right in the middle of Boston, and from the moment she entered the world, she never really stood a chance. Her mother died when she was still a baby, while leaving her and her siblings alone with their father, a man so unstable, people in town literally called him Kelly the Crackpot. And listen, you know it's bad when your own neighbors give you a nickname like that. There's even a rumor, no joke, that this dude once tried to sew his own eyelids shut. Yeah, let that sink in. By the time Jane was 6, her father had completely lost it. He packed her and her sister up, marched them over to the Boston Female Asylum, which, despite sounding fancy, was basically just an orphanage, and left them there. Forever. Jane never saw him again, and honestly, probably for the best. A few years later, Jane was sent off to work as an indentured servant for the Toppan family in Lowell, Massachusetts. Now, if you don't know what an indentured servant is, just think of it as the 1800s version of free labor. You work, you don't get paid, and you pray the family doesn't treat you like garbage. But Jane? She adapted. She put on a smile, cracked jokes, made people laugh. And that's how she got the nickname Jolly Jane. Everyone loved her. But behind all that charm, there was something seriously, seriously wrong. Fast forward a few years, and Jane decides she wants to be a nurse. She gets accepted into Cambridge Hospital, and let me tell you, she was good at it. Patients loved her. Doctors trusted her. She was everything you'd want in a nurse. Until she wasn't. See, Jane wasn't just helping people. She was experimenting. She got real comfortable with the medicine cabinet and started playing around with morphine and atropine, 2 drugs that when used together, they mess you up in the worst way possible. Morphine slows down your body, atropine speeds it up. And Jane? She was obsessed with what would happen if you pushed the balance just a little too far. She started injecting her patients with lethal doses, just to see what would happen. And the worst part? She wasn't just watching. She would climb into bed with them as they slipped away, holding them, whispering to them, stroking their hair. And later, she admitted that watching them die gave her a thrill that no man or woman could ever match. And yet, nobody noticed. Because why would they? She was Jolly Jane, the nurse everyone adored. But here's the thing about playing God. You get cocky. You start pushing your luck. And Jane, she was about to make a mistake that would finally expose her. Real quick, if you like this story so far, go ahead and like, comment, and hit that subscribe button. It helps more than you know, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next on Talescape. All right, back to it. For years, Jane Toppan had been getting away with it. She had perfected the art of slipping under the radar, smiling, laughing, joking, all while quietly ending the lives of her patients one by one. And the hospital? Clueless. But here's the thing about people like Jane. They get too comfortable. They start taking risks. And that's exactly what she did. See, in a hospital, patients pass away all the time. It's sad, but it's normal. So Jane's little experiments? Nobody questioned them. But eventually, she got bored of just watching strangers slip away. She wanted more control, a bigger challenge. So instead of just sticking to the hospital, Jane started targeting people she actually knew. Now, remember the Toppan family? The people who took her in as a child? Yeah, well, bad news for them. After leaving the hospital, Jane moved back in with her foster sister, Elizabeth Toppan. And listen, Elizabeth was one of the few people in Jane's life who had actually been kind to her. She treated Jane like a real sister, even when the rest of the family didn't. But for Jane, that wasn't enough. One day, she invited Elizabeth on a little weekend getaway to the beach. Just the two of them, a fun, relaxing trip between sisters. And at first, everything seemed fine. They walked along the shore, talked about their lives, reminisced about childhood, and then, when they got back to their room, Jane handed Elizabeth a drink laced with a lethal dose of strychnine. Now, if you don't know what strychnine does, it's brutal. It doesn't just put you to sleep. It locks up your muscles, makes your body convulse uncontrollably, and forces your lungs to stop working, slowly. Jane sat there, watching, listening, as Elizabeth twitched, gasped, and finally stopped breathing. And when it was over, Jane held her close, stroked her hair, and whispered to her just like she had with all her patients, her own sister. And the worst part? No one suspected a thing, because why would they? Elizabeth had always been a little sickly. People just assumed her heart had finally given out. Jane got away with it. And after that, she was unstoppable. Over the next few years, Jane went on a full-blown spree. She started working as a private nurse, bouncing from house to house, taking care of wealthy families. But instead of helping them recover, she started wiping them out. She'd show up, act sweet, gain their trust, and then, when they least expected it, she'd mix up one of her special cocktails. A little morphine, a little atropine. And then, she'd sit with them, hold their hands, and watch. She wasn't just taking lives anymore, she was playing with them. At one point, she even moved in with an entire family, the Davises, and within weeks, the mother, the father, and two of their daughters were all gone. One after the other, and still no one suspected her. Why? Because she was Jolly Jane, the helpful nurse, the one who showed up, did her job, and left without causing any trouble. But then, in 1901, Jane made her biggest mistake yet. See, Jane had gotten way too comfortable. She thought she was invincible. But one day, she tried pulling off her usual routine on an entire family, the Davises, and this time, something didn't add up. One of the surviving family members, a man named Captain Gibbs, started noticing a pattern. Every time Jane showed up, someone in the house suddenly got sick, and when she left, they were dead. At first, he didn't want to believe it. After all, Jane had been a trusted nurse for years. But the more he thought about it, the more he realized this wasn't a coincidence. So he called the police. And for the first time in her life, Jane Toppan was about to be exposed. When police started digging into Jane's past, they didn't like what they found. Multiple patients, all dying under her care. Families wiped out, always after she showed up. And somehow, no one had ever connected the dots. Until now. Investigators exhumed the bodies of the Davis family, and when they ran tests, they found traces of morphine and atropine in their systems. Now, if it had been just one case, maybe Jane could have talked her way out of it. But this was undeniable. She was caught. And when they brought her in for questioning, she didn't even try to deny it. In fact, she bragged. Jane sat there, grinning, laughing, completely unfazed. She told police that she had killed at least 31 people. But honestly, it was probably more. And the most disturbing part? She didn't do it for money, or revenge, or even out of some twisted sense of mercy. She did it because she enjoyed it. She told them, word for word, that her ultimate goal had been to take more lives than anyone in history. And that's when the press lost their minds. They called her Jolly Jane, the smiling nurse with a deadly secret. And when her trial started, the whole country was watching. Now, the thing about Jane, she was smart. She knew that if she went to trial, she'd end up facing the death penalty. So instead, she played the insanity card. Her lawyers argued that Jane wasn't some cold-blooded criminal. She was mentally ill. And honestly, it worked. The jury took one look at her and decided, yeah, this lady is not okay. So instead of prison, she was sent to the Taunton Insane Asylum, where she spent the rest of her life. And listen, you'd think that after getting caught, Jane would have some regret, right? Nope. She spent years bragging about her work, telling doctors that she had no remorse. In fact, she actually loved what she did. And when she was finally asked why, she just smiled and said, because it was fun. Jane Toppan, the friendly nurse, the trusted caretaker, the woman who spent decades slipping under the radar, was actually one of the most terrifying figures in true crime history. And the scariest part? If she hadn't gotten caught, she probably would have kept going. That's the story. Now I want to hear what you think. Drop a comment below, let's talk about it. And if you like this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.